Hey, so by the end of today, you are going to have been interacting with customers for a grand total of 14 whole days. This will undoubtedly mean that you have booked a few calls. I don't know how many, to be completely honest. It's hard for me to postulate. Probably the best numbers we've gotten at this point, which is a little over 2 weeks into the program, something like 15 calls. I'm not saying that you have had to have booked 15 calls, but if you pushed it, if you went super balls to the wall, there's no reason why you couldn't have. Regardless, you'll have learned a lot more than you knew when you started, both about sales and in business in general. What we're going to do today is we're going to do a retrospective on the calls that you've had. I mean, as you've seen, these retrospectives typically revolve around specific lead generation sources or sore spots for people. Today, it's going to be specifically about your ability to sell on a call. Now, if you remember when we set up the program about 2 weeks ago, we had a couple of tasks related to call recording. And so that call recording task is what's going to come into handy here. Because if you really want to do a killer retrospective on your calls, you need to have some way to track how the calls went over time, to see how you responded to various problems or questions that customers brought up and that sort of thing. So what I want you to do is ideally you'd have call recordings to go through. If you do, then this will be quite straightforward. You're actually going to sit down and you're going to painstakingly watch the last 5 calls that you've had from start to finish. You may have done this in Fireflies, you may have done this in Fathom. I would encourage you guys to speed them up because a lot of it's just going to be like dead time or wasted time. You can listen fast, then you can talk, right? So, if your calls on average like half an hour and you play this at like 1.5 times or so, it's going to be about 20 minutes each. You're going to do 5. It's going to take you about an hour and a half to do the watching. But while watching each call, ask yourself some questions. Ask yourself if it was successful, if it resulted in a new client or opportunity or experience. Then ask yourself, are there any particular areas I'm struggling with during calls? Do I get nervous? Am I shaky? Is my voice faltering? Am I not knowing what to say next? Am I not confident when it comes time to talk about client revenue and price and that sort of thing? What parts of the call are high friction for you? Right? Identify these. Likewise, identify if there were any common themes or trends, amongst calls that you ended up winning with. It can be as simple as, was I wearing the same color shirt? Odd. I was always wearing a bright red shirt when I closed. It's not necessarily about the color shirt. It's just about the fact that you seem to have some type of consistent thing that yields you a result. Maybe you could find a way to recreate it. Maybe it's worth thinking a little bit about. What's your overall success rate? How many calls did you book? How many resulted in a new client, right? If you have 10 calls, you got one new client, you got a 1 in a 10 conversion rate, which is fine. Based on your observations, what are some small changes you think that you can make to improve the success rate on those calls? Maybe you need to practice specific talking points more. Maybe you need to do some pretend talk, or maybe you need to call one of your friends and say, hey man, could we really quickly run through a mock sales call? I need to really figure this stuff out. Or it could just be about being more confident, or maybe about appearing to be more confident. I've been very nervous at many points in my career. I've had like crippling anxiety over some things that most people would probably consider pretty simple. But if I turn the camera on, when I look at the camera, you can't really tell what's going on in my head, right? So maybe it's not necessarily about becoming a more confident person, which you definitely should anyway. Maybe it's not about becoming more confident. Maybe it's just about appearing more confident. Maybe there are a couple little tweaks you could do. Maybe you just put your hands by your sides or something. I don't know. The point that I'm making is try and identify everything that you could do to improve the quality of your calls, whether it's the body language, whether it's the structure of the calls, whether it's memorizing BS Wisp, that sales script, or what have you. Once you're done, record your findings in the same Google Doc from earlier, then create a school post from your learnings. Now, if you create a school post with your learnings, it'll help you stay accountable and track your progress as you continue to improve your call skills. If you have a giant pair of nuts on you, male or female, if you just have giant hairy balls, you could even add one of the recordings of the sales calls to your school post. Obviously, be careful how you do this. If the client talks about like credentials or something really important, then pick a call that doesn't have it. And if you don't, nobody's going to blame you for it. But the point that I'm making is by making it public, you'll make yourself accountable, and you'll also have a track record of progress that you will get better and better and better at over time. So without further ado, I think you know everything that you need to do in order to crush this. If you don't have recordings of calls, it'll be a lot harder for you to do this, unfortunately. If you have any notes of call, like during your calls or something, you could use that as a stand-in. But ideally, you'd have recordings, and I'm just going to assume that you do. So best of luck. Get out there and crush it.